Hello and welcome to this short video on how we store negative emotions. Now, my name is Tanya. I am the founder of Tanya Lee Coaching. I am a mindset, embodiment, and life guide who is on a mission to support intentionally driven people to truly find their authentic voice, to rediscover their power and their confidence, and to really start living their best life now, whatever that might mean to them, by removing the limiting beliefs that are keeping them stuck, the self sabotage behaviors that are keeping them in a loop, and ultimately the self defeating emotions and self talk that are keeping them feeling, well, stuck. Now, before I dive into the information of this video, I do want to kick things off with a quote because I do believe that quotes have this beautiful way of speaking to our soul in a way that other phrases and sentences just don't. They hit us better or harder. So we're going to kickstart with letting go of what doesn't serve you is key in creating a life that does. See, when we truly let go of the negative emotions and expectations that we've attached to, we begin to open space for ourselves to expand, to grow, and to transform our lives into a direction that our soul is craving. Now, speaking of soul craving things, as we move throughout our life, we experience situations, events, moments that all provide us with emotions, beliefs, and feelings, things that we need to process in order to truly understand or give meaning to it. And these create what we call gestalts. Now, a gestalt is an imprint within our body. So it's like a trapped moment within our body that imprints something, and it stays with us as we grow. Now, I know you're wondering, well, how do we do this and what does that even mean? So let's look at an example. Let's say we're 2 years old and mom is saying, no, we cannot play with the toy that we really want to play with. And for the first time in our short lives, we experience anger. Now, this creates an imprint of the emotion within the body. Because at 2 years old, we don't have the mental and emotional capacity to understand that emotion in its entirety, let alone know how to act on it. So, as a result, what does a 2-year-old do when they don't get what they want? They throw a fit, right? And generally, what does this get us? Well, we either get told to quiet down, get put into a timeout, get in trouble, or we get what we want. Either way, we're imprinting this within our psyche. Now, there's a very interesting statistic that says that by the time a child turns 18 years old, they have heard the word no over 150,000 times. And yet they've only heard the word yes less than 20,000. And this gets programmed into us and really is the basis where all limiting beliefs get started. Ultimately, it's what creates fear within us. Now, back to our Gestalt system. This imprint or this moment onwards, every time we feel the way that that 2-year-old felt in that moment, we add another link onto the chain. And a part of our psyche gets stuck at that level. So, the first part of this chain example, the psyche is stuck at that 2-year-old mindset, making it so in times of stress, we default back to the mentality that first created the emotion of anger. Because when emotions are high, intelligence is low, and we become very reactive versus responsive. Now, a great example of this is road rage. It's not a normal adult reaction when getting stuck in traffic or cut off. In essence, it's a high stress moment that when it happens, we go back to the first time we felt anger. And ultimately, we behave like the 2-year-old would. So we throw a fit, we honk, we yell, we flip people off, we do whatever happens because we're not getting what we want and we're stuck at that 2-year-old mindset. Now, we can have chains for anger. We can also have gestalts and chains for fear, sadness and hurt, shame and guilt. Really, any negative emotion can create this horizontal chain, which builds up a bit of a scaffold like system. Now, if the emotions are horizontal, let's look at what's vertical. That's the people in our lives. So we can have mom and dad. And this is not to say that mom and dad are horrible people. They could be the most wonderful humans in the world. However, they're human and they pass down what they know to us. So, a great example of this is this old story about a husband and wife preparing Thanksgiving dinner. And the wife starts cooking and she cuts off the top and the bottom part of the turkey and puts it in the pan to cook. The husband watches her do this and asks, Why did you do that? And the wife responds with, well, that's how my mom always used to do it. So everyone comes over for dinner. They serve the turkey, and the husband goes over to his mother-in-law. Says, when you cook a turkey, why do you cut the ends off? She responds with, well, that's how my mom always did it. Intrigued now, the husband goes over to the wife's grandma and asks her why she did this. Grandma looks at him and smiles and says, well, to fit it in the pan, of course. So we get imprints based off what we've been taught, the experiences we have, and the emotions that were associated with it. And you might have some imprints from your parents, not again because they were horrible people, but because they did the best that they could with the information that they had available to them. So what we need to do is we need to clear out the negative aspects while keeping the good stuff intact. This allows us to start having conversations from where we are now, responding from our present day self versus the 1, 3, 5, or 7-year-old self that created the imprints. Now, the top part of the vertical part can be mom and dad, like we said. It can also be siblings. It can be exes, because we all know they leave some fun stuff behind. It could be bosses, friends, teachers, bullies, really anyone who might have played or had a negative role or influence with you or on you as you grew up. Once we've identified the emotions and the people, we can then start looking at our beliefs around things. So, underneath this scaffold system, our beliefs tend to get stuck. So, these can be things like, I'm not good enough, no one will love me, I can't make money, no one will like me. All of these things have a tendency to get stuck in the middle of the scaffold system. We can have all money is evil, or I can never make enough money. If I try, I will fail. I'm not worthy. All of these things, they get trapped underneath the system, and therefore they become deeper rooted. It is the belief in here that drives our behavior. And it's our behaviors that are a symptom of our belief system. So by not looking at or mending these beliefs, ultimately our behaviors are running off misguided information. Ultimately, our belief systems, and this is really important to know, are the seeds that are planted in our mind, generally between the ages of 0 and 7. In fact, 95% of your current belief system are based on the programs that you created between the ages of 0 and 7. And they didn't just come from what people said to us. That's a massive part of it. However, they also came from watching how others behaved. It does all leave a mark with us. And that imprinting age, that 0 to 7, is so important to know because we start to build and develop neural pathways as soon as we come out of the womb. In fact, there are studies that show that we start to build neural pathways even when we're in the womb, because what mom experiences is what the child ultimately experiences. And it's these belief systems that we work so hard to unconsciously build within our lives. Once they're set, our unconscious works really, really hard to prove them right. Now, I know that was a lot of information, and you're wondering at this point, well, how do I reprogram my limiting beliefs then? How do I change this? And there are 4 ways in which we can start the healing process. So, number 1 is journal. So, this can be a dump journal, a gratitude journal, an actual journal, whatever works. Writing down our daily thoughts. What's troubling you? Dumping everything out and on paper, answering tough questions, answering hard questions, writing down things that you're grateful for and why. And if you're looking for some key journal prompt questions, feel free to reach out because I do have a 30-day program in which you can truly start getting some of this out there for yourself. The second is a letter burn. So, writing a letter to yourself or another, saying everything that you need to say, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything in between. And once it's done, burning it and watching it go up in smoke, literally watching the words disappear. Now, please practice this one with fire safety. Make sure you're doing it in a sink or over a fire pit and being very safe, knowing that you have water nearby. Okay. Number 3, breathing exercises and meditations. So, really activating yourself and your mind, sitting in silence, using guided meditations, or doing a breathwork practice to really allow your higher self the direction and the connection to you. Now, again, I do have a couple meditations. If you are looking for some guided ones and you're kind of new to this, feel free to reach out and I definitely can hook you up with some of those as well. And finally, clearings. Now, this is a process where we start to clear out the people, we move into the emotions, we tear down that scaffold like system. Because once it's down, we can begin to work on the beliefs left behind. So, working with someone like myself, who is a coach who specializes in that. So, again, reaching out if you'd like the opportunity to learn more about those. So, where do we go from here? Well, by now, you can see you have some great tools and knowledge that you can use to really move forward. And as you dive into those, you'll start to discover that maybe working with a guide or a coach, someone like myself, is something that you're really ready for. And if you would like more information on that process, simply scan this link on your screen right now and we can book a complimentary call to dive into your personal stuff. What's going on for you? What limiting beliefs are present? What do we need to overcome? And coming up with a game plan for you moving forward. I cannot wait to connect with you. And I know that you got information and value out of this video. So I'm super excited to be able to share that with you. And I cannot wait to see you on our complimentary call.